And we're in. We're there. Hey, how y'all doing?
Hello, one person.
Hope y'all are tuned in. I'm gonna go ahead and toss in this song of the dead comments. Y'all peep that out. Boom. I think it's there. Is it there? Why is it not there?
Peep it. Like,
Did you listen to last week's?
Mhm.
That's pretty good.
That was pretty good. Oh.
Mhm.
By the end of that one, I was like, ooh. Mole. I was like, what the fuck? What was I even at with that? It was good. It's still entertaining.
I also like the fact that I just kept trudging on.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna ignore this idiot.
It was the horny chick.
Yeah, you couldn't get past
Yeah,
that.
I couldn't let it lay down. I was like, bro, I can't. I'm not gonna let that go. I'm not gonna let it go. We're gonna talk about this horny chick. Yeah, because Drew's something phallic state made the horny lady mad.
Yeah, there you go. There you
go. Last week's episode was lit. Tune in. It's on Spotify, Apple, wherever you find your
about Drew's phallic state.
Yeah, apparently that happened. But anyway, what's up? What's happening, world? This is a podcast called Friends, Facts, and Fiction. I'm Justin Hammonds, and I'm looking at my boy Drew Shelnut and my boy Grant Bramlett. And we back again on this season 3 of psychology. And today we're going to be covering crazy experiments may or may not know of.
No. It's crazy experiments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I'm learning this like y'all learning it. I didn't know that was the thing. I didn't know that was the thing at all. But yeah, crazy experiments.
He said it wrong twice.
Crazy experiment.
Yeah. Drew got it. I mean, come on.
I'm glad y'all got that locked in. Did y'all practice this? Y'all rehearsed this shit?
No.
Word.
We could just read the document. I mean, come on.
Well, actually, anybody been involved in crazy experiments before? Anybody here?
Not that I know of.
No?
I could have been, but
No.
these people didn't know until centuries later.
So.
Or decades later, at least.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about it. I don't know. I've done crazy experiments. On my own. See what fucking happens or something.
Right, like if you soak a firework in gasoline, what happens? That was
I
a crazy
I do remember getting a Smithsonian art chemistry kit that came with all these, like, it came with like 50 different vials of the little pressure push unleashed like pill bottles with different chemicals in them that you could combine together with their instruction. And
they're just giving that out to kids.
So I went to 5th grade, like on show. I just thought of this. I went and I was just like, all these chemicals together, and dropped a battery, a AA battery into it. And she was just like, "So what's supposed to happen?" And I was like, "The battery is supposed to turn blue." The water turned blue, and the battery started moving.
Oh, nice!
It worked.
That's cool.
It worked.
That's really
cool. A fucking crazy experiment.
I literally put all of them together. All of the ones that had the skull and crossbones on them, at least.
Yeah. All the fun
ones.
All
battery.
The fun ones. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. It just stunk really bad, and the battery did turn blue.
Oh, there you go. Well, there's that. There's a crazy experiment for you right there. Look at that. Live. He forgot about that until I asked him just now.
Yeah. Don't get your kids Smithsonian chemistry sets.
I'm sure there's more regulations on shit now, bro. We were wild as kids. You remember Purple Ketchup?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Crazy shit they did as kids, man. Ren and Stimpy was on Nickelodeon, bro. Come on, man.
Yeah.
We was
Rocco's Modern Life.
Yeah.
Dude was a sex phone worker.
Yeah. That was
ooh baby.
Yeah. Yeah, bro.
Totally forgot about that.
His neighbor was a megalomaniac frog.
Yeah.
That shit was wild, bro. Anyway, so we're gonna slide into these hot facts, but before we do that, you know what time it is. song of the day. And it's on me today. And my life has been pretty hectic the past 4 days. So I was vibing to a very low key track. It's called Haze by Jesse Solomon, featuring Sam Wave. It's a dope track, some cats from the UK, I believe. It's super
Sounds like
vibey.
it.
Yeah,
They
for
sound
sure.
like they're from the UK. But I found it the other day and it kind of like out of the chaos of my shit, it was like, where like chill. You know what I'm saying? It's vibey. I dig it. Check it out. You know what I'm saying?
I really liked it. I liked the little like synth patches and stuff that they had going on in the background. And it's
Yeah.
also fun to listen to hip hop artists from other countries, you know.
Yeah.
Like the UK, it's technically English, but I don't
Yeah.
I don't
I
I don't
love
catch a word of it.
I love the
honestly.
one line it says, do I look bothered, comforted? And I was like, oh, do I look bothered? Try to comfort me is what he's saying about.
Oh,
Was
right,
like
right,
the
right.
way it flowed. I was like, oh, that's nice, but what did he? Do I look bothered, comforted? And I was like, the fuck? Oh, it's vibe. I had to listen to it, like get all the lyrics, but like super dope track. I vibe to it like on my crazy days this
Yeah.
week, man. It
I've al-
saved my sanity.
I've also realized like listening to like French hip hop, which is super cool because their language is already beautiful and it all kind of mush mouth melds together.
Yeah.
So it works really well for that genre. But it's no different for me.
You're not listening to the words anyway.
I'm
man.
never listening to the
Yeah,
words
yeah,
ever. So I'm just like, yeah, they're saying stuff, you know.
Yeah.
It flows with the beat.
Yeah,
Nice.
That's all I care about.
Cool. Big facts with this guy.
Ba-rum-ba-bum-bum over here.
But yeah, man, check that joint out, man. Haze by Jesse Solomon. Give it a spin. Also, every song of the day of the week is on a playlist on Spotify. It's a playlist created by Friends, Facts, and Fiction called Songs of the Day of the Week. So find that on Spotify if you like to hear all that we put in there together. And some of them are fucking hilarious because they're in there with like dope tracks, and there's like a song from the 50s that we just threw in there, and like some death metal is in there somewhere, and like Adam Sandler's Turkey song is in there. It's a great Spotify playlist. If you can find it, go listen to it. It's dope.
It sounds our brains.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, chill and vibey, crazy and dark, kind of quirky. You know what I'm saying? Like
He's not lying.
That's the vibes. That's the vibes. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we're gonna sign to these hot facts, man, of crazy experiments.
Yeah, we've got some crazy experiments. I'm gonna jump into the first one, which is the invisible gorilla experiment. So
such a good title.
Yeah,
such a good title.
It's kind of dark. It feels like it's what invisible gorilla. That's terrifying.
That is kind of terrifying if you think about it.
Fucking terrifying.
Now that I think about it, I've done research for a week on that. I looked into it and was like,
I do love that idea.
Now that I think about an actual invisible gorilla,
yeah,
I don't.
Is this a case of schizophrenia, or
is
a whole is about one guy that can see the invisible gorilla?
This guy should be locked up.
The big twist at the end is you realize the invisible gorilla is real. You know,
the invisible gorilla is you.
It's like a live situation where you put on the glasses and you see the real shit. It's like, you can't see that.
Okay.
Spooky.
So this guy named Daniel Simmons and Christopher Chabris, they conducted it at Harvard. Went a little something like this. Sorry, had to push one out real quick. So it went a little something like this.
What was that? Anyway,
so imagine you're asked to watch a short video. 6 people, 3 in white, 3 in black, and they're passing a basketball around. You can only count the people in white passing the basketball around, and the times that they do it in the allotted time of the video that you're shown.
Is this
and
white
or
clothing?
White shirt,
white clothing, okay,
white shirt, or all white, and black.
Yeah.
So, but at some point, a gorilla strolls into the middle of the action and faces the camera, thumps his chest, and then leaves, spending 9 seconds on screen only,
That's a long time.
would you see the gorilla?
Honestly, that's a long.
I think I would see the fucking gorilla, bro. I mean,
Well, everybody,
it's a gorilla.
like essentially everybody who was asked this question was like, "Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I see a gorilla that just
exactly.
walk?" It's just
six people passing a basketball.
12 people. Well, yeah, 6 people,
Yeah.
like 3 and 3
Yeah.
passing a basketball. You watch only the white shirts and count that. This is not the case, though. The experiment reveals 2 things. After seeing that only half of these people saw the gorilla, so literally, it was invisible to the other people.
That's insane.
Yeah. So like completely, it's like, yeah, of course I did. The experiment reveals 2 things. Like I said, we are missing a lot of what goes on around us, obviously, and we have no idea we are missing so much. And this video, by the way, is on YouTube if you guys want to check it out. Like, just look up the Invisible Gorilla Experiment. They have the video up. I looked at it before I wrote this and was just like, count them. Yep. And I counted 13. It was 15. I noticed, though, when I stopped counting is when the gorilla walked across the screen. Most people either see the gorilla and quit counting,
right,
or don't see the gorilla
because there's
the exact number.
Yeah,
because it's that perceptual, kind of dissonance there, which is, pretty much what this whole episode is about, is fucking with people's perception.
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes me think about there's an episode of Mythbusters. Love that show. But there's a guy that was like touting about being a really good texting driver or whatever, and then they put him through this optical course, and he had to like be on his phone, so they were like texting him a lot and then calling him and all this stuff and like putting him through this obstacle course. So one without it, and then another, I think they used a control, so somebody else driving the obstacle course, and then they had him very heavily distracted. He scored like a 30% versus his almost 100% of completely undistracted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that, like, we really, I wouldn't say that we have one-track minds, and we are capable of certain levels of multitasking, but there's a level that you can get to where you have to focus on one or the other. And so in this case, you're going to miss the gorilla, or
it's the whole, it's the old argument of like being able to actually physically and mentally do 2 things at once, and how it's impossible to do 2 things at once, which it is.
Yeah.
You can do 2 things on your perceptual, like, view of things, of doing 2 things at once, but the synopsis on everything in your brain is split seconds off of each other.
Right.
You're not doing the 2 things at once.
Well, see, this thing with cooking is like, you got to multitask, but you can like have this going over here and have that going over there. Technically, you're doing it at the same time, but it's not at the same time.
Yeah. No, you're not.
Feel me?
But you're quote unquote multitasking.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
That's why that soup burned. Yeah. It was multitasking.
It was multitasking.
Sorry, guys.
But you forgot about the pot that was on the fucking burner, bro.
Oh, it was on high.
You walked away and left.
Whose fault was that? Oh, it was. I told him
I think
yesterday,
it was the
like, I was gonna have this soup going, and I was gonna leave early today, and I didn't say nothing to him, but I said something to him yesterday, so his fault.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's never your fault.
It's that perceptual reality,
It's real. It's a real thing.
But like I said before, if you want to check out this, they even wrote, a little op-ed about it called The Invisible Gorilla, or you can just check into YouTube on The Invisible Gorilla.
I put the link in the comments.
Yeah, cool.
Well,
so it's there in the comments.
Yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, we're live every Monday, 7:30.
As if you couldn't tell.
Yeah. Well, it's for the audio
sure.
audience. And your mom's viewing again.
Oh,
hey.
All right, so I'm going to dive into an experiment that's got one of those sort of fun results. I wouldn't necessarily say surprise results. I was surprised to find the results, but I think apparently they were, I don't know, it could have been that thing where it's like, oh yeah, no, we figured that would happen, But to me, it was surprising. But it was social psychologist Leon Festinger in 1957 when he concocted a really fun scheme in which the tester lies to the subject and then has them lie to other people, like a bunch of liars. You know, science.
Science.
Yeah.
Just
Science.
kidding. But this was all based off of
Theories and laws. Yeah.
Yeah. So leading up to this particular experiment, Festinger was studying aspects of behaviorist view of social psychology and ended up challenging a view based on this like a stimulus response conditioning thought at the time. So basically, if you're taught that lying is wrong, you're less inclined to do so. Was kind of he's also credited with advancing the use of laboratory experimentation in social psychology and infiltrated a doomsday cult to study them.
Oh.
I know. I just needed to throw that in there.
That's interesting.
So he believing that field work is also important. And clearly it is, but also he clearly fucking thought so.
Right.
Real quick, so this cult thought that another great flood was coming at the end of 54 and that a flying saucer was going to save them. So Festinger snuck in and joined them to see their thoughts and beliefs before, during, and after this didn't happen. At least to them. I mean, I think I've probably told you guys my great uncle. He got picked up by the flying saucer, but not those guys.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, it's crazy.
I got hit in the head by a flying saucer one time, but that was because I pissed my mom off. That's different.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Button.
It's funny because it's true.
Nice.
But if you guys are interested in that thing, which I think I might, whenever I fucking have time, he wrote a book on it called "When Prophecy Fails," and this is one of the first cases of cognitive dissonance ever recorded, which we'll get into in a second. But first, the famous experiment. So the hypothesis was the existence of dissonance or an inconsistency, being psychologically uncomfortable, will motivate the person to try and reduce the feeling and achieve consonance or consistency. When this feeling is present, in addition to trying to reduce it, the person will actively avoid situations and information which would likely increase the dissonance. So they're going to tell themselves whatever they can or do whatever they can to feel better.
Right.
That's the basis here. Yeah. This reduction can be achieved by changing your actions or selectively acquire new information or opinions. An example Festinger used is of smoking. Once learning that smoking is bad for you, you can feel better mentally by quitting, telling yourself it's not that bad, or looking to positive effects like preventing weight gain. Right?
Yeah. We've all been there. Huh?
So, the experiment itself, subjects are told they're participating in a 2-hour tour.
A 2-hour tour.
And the experiment aims to observe. Thank you, Drew. The relationship between expectations and the actual experience of a task. With nothing else to go on, they have to move a bunch of pegs and even turn pegs slightly for hours, right? So the patient is bored to hell, and the proctor is pretending to record their times and basically snicker to themselves. Then the subjects are debriefed by being told that there are two groups. The group that they are in, which was told very little, and the next group is supposed to be told about the tasks and the overall experience of the study beforehand. This is where the conditions divide into a control, a dollar group, and a $20 chunk, or a third group.
$20 chunk. I like that.
That's a new one. That's a new one.
$20 chunk.
$20 chunk. The next step is the master deception. After debriefing, the proctor tells the subjects that the other group needs someone to explain the experiment to the next group. And some no good, rotten slacker never even fucking showed up. And if the subject would be so kind to do it for them, for the price of either $1, which is around $9 today, or $20, about 180 smackers in current monies.
God damn.
If they agreed, they were given a script that was complete malarkey. Shit like, it was very, very exciting. I had a lot of fun. A bunch of lies. Subject turned actors were then interviewed about the whole deal with a ranking system attached. Were the tasks interesting and enjoyable? -5 to +5. Did you learn about yourself, etc., etc., etc.? The crazy thing, at least to me, is that the control group, who didn't have to lie to some poor sap, and the group that got paid $180 to lie scored about the same in the exit interview. And the ones only paid $9 in today monies scored higher on how much they enjoyed the experience. Right.
Interesting.
So in a shell nut, the group,
the
control group hated it for good reason and had no reason to say otherwise. The people paid $180 had a good reason to lie to the following group and therefore didn't need to lie to themselves. And the $9 group had to lie to themselves for relief the overall experience. Removing money from this equation and looking at other aspects of life is where this experiment and the resulting proof of how far we will go without us even realizing it, to have it make sense or themselves comfortable. Let's look at flat earthers who choose to actively ignore science, or even go as far as to say that everyone in the scientific community has some nefarious master plan around lying to us about the shape of the planet. Or people waving the stars and bars using the defense of our heritage to placate their consciences and around supporting a treasonous group of racists.
Yeah, fuck all those people. We still have not got any traction on our Carmelo theory.
The Carmelo Earth. Come on, guys.
The hollow earth and flat earthers. We got to unite, guys.
That's true. That's true.
We gotta
it's a
come together.
bipartisan agreement here that we're talking about.
We're coming across the aisle to
together.
you guys. Okay?
Like we yeah.
Bro, shouts out.
We're not Ted Cruzing and just dipping out. That's all I'm saying.
We're trying to lead a united conspiracy theory that the world is flat and hollow.
And filled with caramel.
And filled with caramel.
Because it's delicious.
Because it's amazing.
I love caramel.
So petition your local senators, whatever you need to, for
bro, if
a really big straw. Because that's going to put us on the map.
Bro, if
you thought that it was fossil fuels, nah, we just found caramel in the middle of the earth.
If there's
Come on, you dum-dums.
If there's a Bigfoot hunting season, like being written up in a state, we should definitely just bring them together.
There's got to be a caramel drill.
And shouts out to Godzilla versus Kong, or Kong versus God. A lot of hollow earth shit in there. And it's pretty fucking badass, actually.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's pretty sick.
But just to wrap that up,
back to the half facts.
The theory of cognitive dissonance helps us understand how reasoning with people like this doesn't work, right? As we use science to explain that the earth is not flat to a flat earther, it in fact forces them to double down into their wrong beliefs, right? They just dig a little deeper. They dig their little dumb claws into their little idiot, fucking.
Well, I mean, if you can take that onto as a mental, you can take that onto a sports realm perception. Someone's talking shit about your team. Oh, well, this dude fucking sucked last week. Well, I mean, the linebacker though, that dude's the next ticket, bro. Yeah. Like, we got him. Oh, I knew our running back kind of fucked up, but that linebacker, bro, next week, come and get him.
Yeah, it makes them feel better about their. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is going to lead me to, I don't know, to the laughing boy.
Just hit me up about some work shit on my phone.
So the name is called the Monster Study.
Drew, you're fun over here talking about gorillas,
monsters and gorillas.
Like Monsters Inc.
No.
Great film,
maybe, because Monsters Inc. University. The
Monsters Inc. University is actually better than the original.
The Monsters Study.
I think Monsters Inc. University.
Flying over my pun here
is better than the original. I'm just saying.
I liked it a lot.
I liked it a whole lot.
It was dope.
It was great. It was like a Monsters Inc. University.
Or the Monsters Study. Yeah. I'm gonna keep
I was going to try to go a Hoffman way. But yeah, I know. No, the monster
Quality.
the monster study. Shut your mouth.
Chaos. Okay.
We're getting angry. It's nice. We ain't getting angry. Okay, so this was the monster study was conducted by Mary Tudor, Tudor, not a tutor for you. With the supervision of Vindel Johnson, which he would have hated if I would have said his name. That was the reason why all of his findings on this were pushed off, were because all of this was going on at the same time as the Nazis bullshit in 1939 at the University of Iowa. So here on our turf. But we'll dive into why he was called the monster for this. So the research began with a selection of 22 subjects from a veterans orphanage in Iowa. None were told the intent of the research. So nobody was let know. They were just like, and at that point, orphans wanted to just get out where they could. You know, they were, let's do what we can.
Yeah.
You know, which is fucked.
And these are kids.
And these are children, 5 to 15.
That's fucking
also because their parents died in battle.
Yeah, exactly. So these kids, parents died in battle, and they were thrown into these socio-civic experiments, if you will, which kind of it molded them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, that's a mind
before we
fuck.
get into anything, you know, I mean, it really did.
Yeah,
it's intense.
So under his, I guess, whatever observation, she did all of these studies and everything. Tudor was trying to induce stuttering in healthy children, and to see whether, like, putting negative thoughts into these help them stutter, or so what she did is she took these kids, half were stutterers, half were not, and they just went through and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are the people who are stutterers. These are not, without knowing if they did or not. And enforce them with either positive or negative reinforcement on these subjects. So what she unintentionally did out of these 23 subjects was essentially create people who stuttered that weren't stuttering, and or took people out of stuttering, out of positive and or negative reinforcement.
That's so
essentially
wild.
she walked in on, like,
crazy.
There's like, so we cut it in half, like 12 or like 10 or 11 per group, you know.
Yeah.
She cut them in half, had her and her group said positive things, the other group said negative things towards the people. Like, the positive things were like, you have very good intuition and you speak very well, whereas the negative classes were looked at and talked to as you sound like everybody else says you do. Not like this, and it's just like, everybody sounds like you. Says you sound like shit, and you kind of do, you know.
Basically,
but in that, the controls of the people who didn't stutter, and in both groups, the ones that were positively enforced on this never stuttered again. Even the stutterers.
That's crazy. The
people who never stuttered before and the people who stuttered that were put into those groups never got over it for the rest of their fucking lives, because they were so negatively in on these situations. You know, just like essentially just like walking up and was like, yeah, you're a fucking piece of shit. You'll never get your shit together. And it's okay. You'll do better. You got this. And that's essentially, like,
that's fucked up.
As much as I can write and go into that experiment, that's what it was. And like I say, like, he kept that shit hidden for so long because that's the same thing the Nazis were doing. We weren't trying to change the eye color in this experiment.
I mean, they were a lot more brutal. Let's be honest.
No. But I mean, essentially, not essentially, they were doing that test as well. If we were doing that to the extremes of what they were doing their shit, they were obviously doing something along that line.
Of course.
And it really, he did not agree with Wendell, that is, with a lot of things. But what he did agree with is trying to figure. And that's where they found their common ground. It wasn't like she came at him with like, hey, I hear that, certain people that use their left hand, maybe the reason why they have an imbalance is because they're using their right brain with their left hand.
Yeah.
Right. Which he didn't agree with, but he said, just go about it. You can agree with and or disagree with whatever you see it.
Yeah.
You're not really going to be able to give your actual opinion.
It's the purpose
upon it,
of an experiment. You know what I mean? Hypothesis into,
No. Yeah. So that's essentially what that was, which was.
That sounds brutal, and they ruin people's lives.
Like,
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah. Especially orphans.
Yeah.
Orphans who just lost their parents.
You don't have family, and now you got depression and a
speech impediment.
Yeah. And like you probably never be truly happy again ever, all because some motherfuckers was like, I wonder if I could do this.
Yeah.
I wonder what's the effects of this.
Or very specifically in this case, I wonder if it is left-handedness that causes stuttering.
Like,
fuck.
And they even
something that small.
They even called it
people's lives.
Wow.
When they were going in it.
That's crazy.
Like this is the experiment on mental handedness, and Wendell was like, "Oh man, this is shitting all work. It's fucking."
And thinking about it deeper, I mean, affected like that whole person's bloodline because that's
100%.
Initially, that's genetically, like wow.
Yeah, because you genetically, whether you agree with it or not, this is like just facts. We've gone through this last fucking season, but mental things carry down genetically.
Genetically.
So I mean, if you fuck with somebody's psyche,
that
their
deep,
genes
bro,
are probably going to be fucked,
especially that young too, because you live with it for the rest of your life. I mean, being adjust to that, like shit gets deep. It gets deeper. That's a fucked up experiment. Well, that's not even crazy. That's just fucked up.
Yeah, really, that's just fucked up.
That's why it's called the monster experiment.
Yeah, that makes good sense.
It is.
So, moving on to another experiment that shows how wrong we can be and not know it, especially when there's a bunch of liars involved again. Goddamn liars.
More liars. You got all the liars.
Wait,
all my guys are liars too, so it's okay.
So this notion has been around for a long time, but the experiment I'm outlining is a little more recent, from the early 90s, in which a psychology professor, Loftus, and an undergraduate of hers, Cohn, concocted a scheme around false memories, in which Cohn invited his mother, sister, and brother to participate. So he wrote some booklets and handed them out. They each contained 4 short stories of their individual pasts, and asked them to spend 6 days remembering as much as they could and write that down.
I'm going with remembering.
Yeah, okay, cool.
All right.
Here's the kicker. 3 were real. 1 was a dirty, rotten motherfucking lie. And they focused on the best example of a lie, his younger brother's false memory of getting lost in a mall when he was 5 and being rescued by some old lady. During the experiment, Cohn's brother unwittingly invented several additional details of the false narrative. At the conclusion of the experiment, during a tape-recorded debriefing, when told that one of the narratives was false, Cohn's brother could not identify which one was false and even expressed disbelief when they told him. It's like, hey, you did not get lost in the mall. And it was like, no, I'm pretty sure I did.
I definitely did.
I passed Babbage's and foot blocker there, and I'm not there now.
Cohn later refined the study methodology for his senior thesis, where he reports all subjects were able to identify the false memory eventually. So they took this as a partial win and decided to keep on trucking. With a refined methodology and 24 random peoples this time, 25% reported remembering the false story. The memory for the false event was usually reported to be less clear than the true events, and people generally used more words to describe the true events than the false ones. But at the end of the study, when participants were told one of the 4 events were false, 5 out of those 24 failed to identify the Lost in the Mall event as the false event, and instead picked one of the true events to be false. Loftus called this study existence proof for the phenomenon of false memory creation, and suggests that false memory is formed as a result of the suggested event, in this case being lost in a mall, being incorporated into already existing memories of going to the mall. With the passage of time, it becomes harder for people to differentiate between what actually happened and what was imagined, and they make memory errors. However, it remains to be seen how an older relative verifying the lost incident applies to what might happen in therapy. What they were going for all along was purposefully implanting false memories to quell the debate about the existence of repressed memories, what Freud based his entire early clinical career on.
Yeah. So we tied that together.
Yes, we
Yeah,
did.
if you tuned in last week. Yeah.
See, I'm doing stuff over here.
Are you guys listening to him, what he is saying? It is very interesting.
I forgot Freud was still here.
Yeah, right.
He's been in the studio for a week.
And they achieved something that is generally accepted, but some argue that these particular implanted memories are traumatic enough, essentially. So they used the subject's family members to do the interviewing. Their study was able to replicate Loftus's, whatever the plural of or possessive of findings that memories of being lost in the mall could be created and were more likely to occur in young children. However, a much smaller number of children reported false memories of another untrue incident, that of a painful and embarrassing one. Another article by Kenneth Pope, an American psychologist, suggested possible confounding variables in the study, questioning whether the technique's ability to false memory could be compared with the ability of a therapist to create a pseudo memory of childhood sexual abuse.
Woof.
Yeah.
That's
Pretty crazy thing with her. She ended up getting sued a little later on in her career, and then ended out of further psychological, sociological
for inflicting trauma.
Well, more so there was some kind of child custody battle case, and the defense lawyer used her and findings as proof of this parent should get custody of this child, and it ended up turning out that that child shouldn't have gone to that parent or whatever. So she ended up getting sued later on when they dug even deeper into all this and figured out that, I don't know, it was a whole crazy
that is
thing.
Wild, bro. Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I was trying
That's a delicate situation.
I was going to put it all in there, but I was like, it's very legal jargony and also kind of fucked up.
Yeah. It's a fucked up situation. Jesus.
But I did want to finish up with such implications have been well documented. However, there are now wider lessons to be learned about our current misinformation age from this fascinating paradigm. It's one thing to understand that our autobiographical memories can be seriously manipulated by malign forms of suggestion. But what happens when our pre-existing biases and beliefs counter similar manipulations? False information designed for political or personal gain has, it can be argued, always been a problem. But now with the channels of misconception so slick, a malign deception can take on a hue of truth faster than ever before.
Yeah.
And we now have at our disposal the technology to provide compelling photographic and video, quote unquote, evidence for such false events.
Yeah, like, when they said that George Floyd died of complications with breathing, it's like, bro, we saw the video, bro.
He definitely did die.
But the way, but like not the way they tried to put it out at first. It's like, bro, we got video. Like, you can't just lie anymore.
Yeah, his breath was complicated by a knee on the back of his fucking neck.
It should be the time of like death of propaganda, because you could research shit, but people don't take the time because of shit like this,
which is funny too, because
it's implanted in your brain. It's like, that's right.
It's a time of propaganda, but it's also the time of believe what you want to see.
Oh,
You know,
or you can see what you want to not believe, what you should actually be fucking seeing.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no, because they said that. It's like, bro, they said that,
Well,
but
okay.
this is the
Well,
fact.
that oddly
right.
leads us into my next little guy, which is the
Turn it on.
third wave experiment.
Oh shit.
The
Yeah, it does.
third wave. So, like I said before, this is all personal. A perceptual belief of what you are presented. Everything that we're going over today, which is essentially psychology, but in these experiments. Third wave is one of the most interesting social experiments I've ever seen and or heard of.
Yeah.
So it took place in 1967 by a high school teacher named Ron Jones, a high school history teacher at that. It was in California at Cubberley High School.
Cubberley.
Oh,
Cubberly.
that's just so damn nice.
Cubberley.
Cubberley.
I really hope that they're like the teddy bears.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
Well,
The Cubberley Bears?
Let's find out.
Cubberley Bears.
Yeah. Cubberleys. Or the Cubberley Tuggy Bears. So this guy decided if he could replicate the effects on the German population by the Third Reich by experimenting on his senior students.
Wow.
Oh man, that's there, Ron.
Whew.
You know?
God damn, bro.
So let's start off with
What?
the first out of 5 days.
Okay.
First day. The first day's session was closed with only a few rules. Being rather simple to be on a one-day experiment, he thought was just going to be a one-day experiment.
Yeah, thought. Yeah.
So students had to be sitting at attention before the second bell rang, had to stand up to ask or answer questions, and had to do it in 3 words or fewer, and were required to preface each remark with Mr. Jones.
Interesting.
So he did that for the first day.
Brainwashing.
Right. Second day rolls around. Jones decided to continue the experiment after observing his students' strict adherence to the previous day's rules. Jones added strength through community to the chalkboard and proceeded to name his movement the Third Wave.
Instead of the Third Reich?
Yeah.
Got it now.
Jones, he based his name of his movement on the supposed fact that the third wave in its succession is the strongest.
Okay.
So Jones created a salute involving a cupped hand reaching across the chest towards the opposite shoulder, resembling a Hitler salute.
Ooh.
And ordered the class members to salute each other both inside and outside of class.
Oh, wow.
Jones then assigned each of his students an individual assignment, such as designing the, like third wave banner, stopping non-members from entering the classroom even, and recruiting their friends to join.
Oh my God, this is
So-
making me so uncomfortable.
So yeah, so this
fucked up,
happens the day. We're talking about 72 fucking hours.
Yeah.
Third day rolls around. The movement had expanded from 30 to 43 students.
Damn.
Jones added strength through action to the chalkboard. All this were issued a member card.
Oh my God.
Jones instructed the students on how to initiate new members, and by the end of the day, the movement had ended up at 200 people.
Oh my God.
At the end of the day?
Oh my
Yes.
God.
The third day.
Third day, 200 people.
Bro, this is sounding like some.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
So Jones instructed 3 students to report to him when other members of the movement failed to abide by the rules, but was surprised that when 20 of the students made such reports, not 3. So essentially the students started to proceed with their own fucking rules on this.
Of course.
After he instructed them with this,
Of course.
they started taking it into their own light and moving with that.
Take it, run with it.
So
Run, tell that type of vibe.
even moving so to have a bodyguard, for the student body.
Wow.
Day 4. On the 4th day, he decided to call it quits because of this bodyguard hierarchy that they've put in place that is literally physically assaulting other students and punishing members that they thought quote unquote fucked up by sending him to the library, which was essentially just like a detention zone jail.
What the fuck, bro?
Straight up. Like, just send them to the library and they would be in detention because
so it's like a never mind.
So he saw that and he advised us to he's like calls it to a quits on day 4 and advises students that the movement was a nationwide movement, not that he had made it up. And at noon the next day they would unveil the president of this movement. And for everybody to come to the school the next day at noon that were a part of that movement and be part of this inaugural, presence or whatever. So essentially the student shows up and he gives each of them like a little card or whatever, and they flip on the screens, black screen for like 12 minutes. And they're like, what the fuck's going on? And instead of playing the inaugural address, if you will, he flips on a Nazi fucking video.
Holy shit.
And goes, this was a social experiment. You guys are all part of it. I'm sorry.
Wow.
That's the long and skinny of it.
God,
yeah, that's exactly what happened. And the University of Iowa has since then been like, guys, we're fucking sorry.
We let
Looney Balloony on campus, and he did this to you guys. I'm so sorry. I mean, but for real though.
Sure.
And that's what happened with that. Yeah, he realized how fast.
Yeah,
and enigmatic characteristic. Yeah, could push people towards things that would have never done before in their life.
Sounds like a lot of people that start buying red hats circa 2016.
Sure. I think that there's like I don't know, it's a M and an, I don't know, my brain's, it's like an M and an A and a G and a B. A.
It's
an
A.
Yeah. Maga.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maga.
Yeah. When they keep referring to it as a Trump movement, I'm like, bro, you're not realizing what the fuck y'all are saying, bro? Like, I mean, goddamn, like, you believing in this person like a religion. This shit is creepy, bro.
Yeah.
Beyond like the madness and the bullshit they do, it's just fucking creepy. Like, are you that mentally dependent on a fucking psychopath?
Well, I mean, that just goes to show how easy that can take off and get out of hand.
Yeah, I mean, but belief is the strongest thing we have, bro.
Right?
Like, you believe in something, you'd be surprised what you'll do for it. Like, for real.
Yeah,
that goes to anything and everybody. Like, straight up. That's fucking wild that they just let that dude do that shit.
Yeah,
just like, yeah, go ahead, man. Like, yeah. You want to start a little Nazi movement? Cool, man. Do you?
So I'm gonna do.
They didn't let him. He just did it himself.
He just busts open the door. Like,
he just like, I am the student body.
Yeah. Oh, so he just Kool-Aid man that shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no. Once the student body finds out, we're gonna be all killed.
Yeah. I'm here now. Yeah, deal with this.
So speak on your next.
I always thought as a kid how terrifying that would be if you're just on the couch or something as my friend busting the fucking wall, like, oh yeah. I was like, oh no, nigga, like, what the fuck? What? Like, why are you here, bro?
Yeah, that
would
truly be terrifying.
Yeah, bro.
You know,
I'd be fucking.
And also, how does that dude made out of glass not shatter when a brick wall
or spill any liquid
or ever spill any Kool-Aid of his own?
Bro.
And also, is he getting people to drink his own blood?
Yeah, like,
what's happening?
Is he just leaning over and pouring cups?
That's weird. The whole thing's weird. I don't like any of it.
It is very strange, but Kool-Aid is delicious. I'll tell you that. Yeah. Oh yeah. Every time I take my first sip, oh yeah. That's the one.
You're ridiculous.
Hey, I'm just me.
Well, I'm gonna start without Drew.
Yeah.
But so I saved my worst for last as well. This one is the Stanford prison experiment. Sure, a fair amount of people have heard of this because it's very, very infamous. But it was a social psychology experiment that attempted to investigate the psychological effects of perceived power, focusing on the struggle between prisoners and prison officers. It was conducted at Stanford University in 1971 by a research group led by psychology professor Philip Zimbardo, using college students. In the study, volunteers were assigned to either be guards or prisoners by the flip of a coin, mind you. That honestly, to me, becomes quite important later. They literally went in front of them. I was like, okay, you're a prisoner. Next person, flip. Okay, you're a guard, right? That's how they decided. And they saw them decide total random.
Well, at least it was in front of them.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, also it makes sure that like nobody had favoritism. You know what I
Well,
mean?
exactly. That's kind of the.
Yeah.
right.
By the way, in a mock prison with Zimbardo himself serving as the superintendent. Several quote unquote prisoners left mid experiment, and the whole experiment was abandoned after just 6 days. It was supposed to be a study.
Jesus,
Damn, didn't even pass the first week.
Jesus.
Early reports on experimental results claim that students quickly embraced their assigned roles, with some guards enforcing authoritarian measures and ultimately subjecting some prisoners to psychological torture, while many prisoners passively accept psychological abuse and, by the other officers' request, actively harassed other prisoners who tried to stop it. The experiment has been described in a lot of introductory textbooks, although some have chosen to exclude it because of its methodology is questionable.
Go figure.
No fucking shit.
Come on now. I've not been to jail, but you know.
Yeah. So the U.S. Office of Naval Research funded the experiment as an investigation into the causes of difficulties between guards and prisoners in the United States Navy and United States Marine Corps. Certain portions of it were filmed, and excerpts of the footage are publicly available, by the way. So you can see
Wow.
this fucked up shit anytime you want. They actually have a documentary onto it.
That sounds like a
It's
terrifying real
quite
life
good.
movie.
It's sad and disturbing, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
The experiment's findings have been called into question, and the experiment has been criticized for unscientific methodology. Although Zimbardo interpreted the experiment as having shown that the prison guards instinctively embraced sadistic and authoritarian behaviors.
Well, you don't say.
Yeah.
Give somebody some power. Watch what the fuck happens.
The crazy thing is, though, is he actually instructed these guards to exert psychological control over the prisoners. Like, as it's starting, he gives them this little lecture, and that's some of this is his fault.
Yeah.
For damn
Oh,
sure.
well, of course.
I mean,
The fact that he put it together is also his fault.
I was
But
about to say,
yeah.
You know.
the whole shit is his fault completely.
Yeah. So his primary reason was to focus on the power of roles, rules, symbols, group identity, and situational validation of behavior that generally would repulse ordinary individuals. A quote of his was, "I've been conducting research for some years on de-individualization, vandalism, and dehumanization that illustrated with the ease with which ordinary people could be led to engage in antisocial acts by putting them in situations where they felt anonymous, or they could perceive of others in ways that made them less than human as enemies or objects."
Wow.
Wow. So these participants that were
Jesus.
recruited they were told they would be participating in a 2-week prison simulation. The team selected the 4 applicants whose test results predicted they would be the most psychologically stable and healthy. These participants were predominantly white and of middle class. The group was intentionally selected to exclude those with criminal backgrounds, psychological impairments, or medical problems. They all agreed to participate in this and receive $15 a day, which is about $100 now.
Man, that's dope.
Okay, so it was conducted in a 35-second. 35. I feel you, Justin. I read it when I was writing this. I was like, "Wow, $100 a day."
I mean, shit. I mean, you know, cool.
A 35-foot section in the basement of the psychology building. By the way,
So they weren't off site.
No.
No.
It was there.
They're there at
motherfuckers
Stanford.
just-
Yeah,
they were just
chilling.
fucking nuts.
And these are students.
That's
Like
crazy.
they went there every day.
I can almost see
You know?
like those state when you're like actually off site at a prison.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe shit changed. When you're
Mhm.
at the building you
Yeah.
go to every day
I know, right?
already.
Yeah,
like
it's crazy.
that's fucking wild.
So the prisoners were confined for 24 hours a day. In contrast, the guards lived in a completely different environment, separated from the prisoners, and they were given rest and relaxation areas and other comforts. They were also allowed to leave when their quote unquote shift was over. So like
gotcha.
real guards.
Yeah, real
Yeah,
guards.
yeah.
They, like I was saying earlier, they held an orientation for the guards the day before, during which guards were instructed not to harm the prisoners physically or withhold food or drink. But they did say you can create in prisoners feelings of boredom, a sense of fear to some degree. You can create a notion that their life is totally controlled by us, by the system, you, me, and they'll have no privacy.
What's the difference between modern day jail and that?
I know, right? We're going to take away their
Thanks.
individuality in various ways. In general, what all this leads to is a sense of powerlessness. That is, in this situation, we'll have all the power and they'll have none, which is already fucked up. They already messed up the experiment by saying all that to these fake guards. But
well, they put it in their heads to be like, oh, so we can fuck with them?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, which kind of like leads me to, I hate to interrupt, but like leads me to a kind of a question of being someone who's been to JICA. That feels like that wasn't an experiment. That feels like that was just part of it.
Yeah.
Like they make you feel like you are not human,
Right.
like you are below them, and they take your rights away. They take everything away from you. You are not.
You just chattel at that point, bro.
Yeah,
right.
Like,
so they did all that. Here's the really fucked up thing, Joe. Justin, you were talking about how, like, this is just their building that they're in.
Yeah.
Well, so the prisoners were arrested at their homes and charged with armed robbery. The local police department assisted them with this and conducted a full booking procedure on the prisoners, which included like fingerprinting, taking mugshots. The prisoners were transported to the mock prison from the police station, where they were strip searched and given their duties. Wow. So they put the prisoners through the whole show.
Well, they kind of had to, because I've watched that show 60 Days In and watched all of the seasons. The last two were in Gadsden, Alabama.
Oh.
And
I saw the gentleman there. What's up?
But if they're not prefaced, like I actually told Carolyn the other day, she's from Gadsden, I was like, shit, if they ever want to do one in Tuscaloosa, I'd be down.
Sure.
Because you have to be from the region that you like, because in all of them that I've watched, there's these people coming in and they don't know how to answer the questions right, because they have, number one, either never been in that situation, number two, are not from the area.
Yeah.
So these people, like undercover cops, undercover investigators, this, that, and the other, are going in and you know, trying to do 60 days in these prisons or jails or whatever.
Yeah.
And they show up, and as soon as you walk in and OG asks you a question, if you you're gonna get your ass beat.
Yeah.
Because they know you're lying.
Oh,
and like
bro.
that's why 60
It's
days in.
check. Your papers.
So 60 Days In is watching this. Get in touch with me, because you guys are fucking all the way up on this kind of like going in and doing shit, like behind the scenes shit. Because motherfuckers, the whole thing.
Inquire
like,
for a job.
Yes, I did. I did. These motherfuckers. I mean, you got to know what you fucking like. It's like if you're gonna hire a fucking chef or a bartender or a cook or whatever, you don't want them to be the opposite of what you're hiring for.
Yeah, true that.
True.
Big
you
facts.
know,
Big
I mean,
facts.
use your brain.
Use your brain.
So the guards, they had differing responses to their new roles. One, described as being the most abusive, felt his aggressive behavior was helping experimenters to get what they wanted. And another, who had been hoping to be selected as a prisoner, which is weird, instead recalls, I brought joints with me, and every day I wanted to give them to prisoners. I looked at their faces and saw how they were getting dispirited, and I felt sorry for them.
And of course you wanted to give them joints.
Yeah.
Wait, he didn't give them joints?
No, because the fake warden here, David Jaffe, or I don't know, intervened to change this guard's behavior, encouraging him to participate more and become more tough.
Oh,
First day, relatively uneventful. Second day, the prisoners in cell 1 blockaded their door with their beds and took off their stocking caps that they were forced to wear, refusing to come out or follow the guards' instructions. Guards from other shifts volunteered to work extra hours to assist in subduing the revolt, and subsequently attacked the prisoners with fire extinguishers when they weren't being supervised by the research staff.
Third day, pussy guy gives out joints.
What is this? The second day?
Second night, because the research staff has gone home apparently, which is another that's stupid. And they fucking...
Here's the control. Just look at it for
They
a
just left
little
these people
while.
to their own devices.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, y'all got
Just-
this, right? We're going to head out.
La Quinta's calling my name real quick.
yeah.
I don't know what's going on with you.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah.
Day 2, bro. Holy shit.
So, finding that handling 9 cell guards per shift was challenging, one of the guards suggested that they use psychological tactics to control them. They
Wow.
set up a privileged cell in which prisoners were not who were not involved in the riot were treated with special rewards, such as like a higher quality meal. The privileged inmates chose not to eat the meal in commiseration with their fellow prisoners.
Wow.
After only 35 hours, one prisoner began to act crazy, as Zimbardo described. Literally, he called it crazy. He's a psychology professor.
Yeah.
And he said he's like,
That
So-
motherfucker crazy.
number 8612 then began to act crazy, to scream, to curse, to go into a rage that seemed out of control. It took quite a while before we became convinced that he was really suffering and that we had to release him.
Wow.
Well, why don't you just give him a number instead of a name and see how he reacts to that real quick?
Well,
That's
they
fucking
told, or they forced the prisoners to repeat their assigned numbers to reinforce the idea that this was their new identity.
Mm-hmm.
Guards soon used these prisoner counts to harass them, using physical punishment such as all these push-ups and shit like that. Sanitary conditions declined rapidly, exasperated by the guards' refusal to allow some prisoners to urinate or defecate anywhere but in a bucket placed in their cell.
Wow.
And as a further punishment, they wouldn't prisoners empty the bucket.
My
Holy
butthole would have just
shit.
blowed up because
Yeah.
I just wouldn't have been able to deal with that. I'm just going to go ahead and say.
The guards started they removed their mattresses at one point, making them sleep on the concrete. Some prisoners were forced to be naked as a method of degradation. Several guards became increasingly cruel as this continued. Examiners reported that approximately 1/3 of the guards exhibited genuine sadistic tendencies.
Bro, and this is in like 4 days, 6 days.
This is 6 days.
Where was
Like-
this taking
fucking
place?
nuts.
Stanford.
Stanford. Oh, I thought it was
Most of the
Tuscaloosa County
guards-
Jail. Damn.
Most of the guards were upset when they called the experiment after 6 days.
Because they can't get out their deepest, darkest fantasies
Yeah,
of
Because they
punishment.
made all high school. Need some kind of power trip. Shout out to
Oh,
all the
man.
cop outs out there.
Oh, man. Those
So-
motherfuckers that work in prisons, some of them are just like,
Nah, you guys
bro,
can
you
go
ain't
fuck
shit.
off.
Some of y'all okay.
Yeah.
If y'all listening, but some of y'all ain't shit and you know who you are. Anyway.
Most of you.
A crazy story. So the one that they let out that was acting all crazy,
Yeah.
rumors started to circulate that this guy was going to come back with a bunch of his buddies to force the experiment to end. So Zimbardo, believing this rumor was true, moved the whole experiment to like the 3rd floor and then hid and waited in the basement to see if it would happen. It never happened, so they moved it back down to the basement. This is a very eventful.
It would have been a
6
fun
days.
experiment on just him.
That is,
I
you
know,
know?
right? Yeah.
Like his reaction to what was going on.
A lot
less
of these
than a week. All this shit happened in less than a week.
in less
That's
than a week.
fucking
Yeah.
insane, bro.
A lot of the prisoners had like internalized their roles too, since had stated that they would accept parole even if it would mean forfeiting their pay, despite the fact that they could just quit and walk out at any time. Like any point in time, they could say, "Fuck this, I'm
Yeah,
out."
we're good.
Mhm.
Yeah, they
That's
started talking about parole and shit. It's just absolutely insane.
That's fucking ridiculous.
It's the mind of an
It's like-
animal, man.
Like they
You
forgot
fucking-
that this is just an experiment. Like they got like straight on into their roles. Like that's insane.
And
Well, when you put a mammal in a cage,
So
It's a thrill.
you guys want to know why he called it quits?
What's that? What happened?
A woman named Christina Maslach. She was a graduate student. Then
Wait.
Zimbardo
Can you run that back?
mass latch.
Maslach, I think.
Mass latch.
Zimbardo was
There's a joke there I missed. but
Yeah,
we
you
can
did.
Zimbardo was
keep running.
dating
Okay.
this girl and married this girl later on.
Mm-hmm.
She came in and said, "Hey, this is up."
That's what ended it?
Hey, bro, I like your penis,
Oh
but
my
what you're
God.
doing, not so much.
Yeah, that's it. Seriously. She just like came in to check on the grand
Yes.
experiment and was like,
This
"Whoa,
is
hey, we need to stop." And he was like, "Well, I am banging her." Hey, let's call this off, guys.
I
Yeah.
probably should. I want to keep banging her. So you know what? The trauma that I've caused all of you. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go marry her. We'll do some paperwork on what just happened.
That's fucking crazy.
It's crazy. It's like the story I heard of a comedian. I forget her name, but she was like addicted to meth when she was like 19 to 22, and her sister came to visit her in the streets of San Francisco, and just literally said, "You probably need to quit doing meth." And she hadn't done it since that day, and like became like this successful comedian writer.
That's crazy.
Like literally, just somebody just said, "Hey, you probably shouldn't do that."
Yeah. Sometimes it takes that. Like, we get so entrenched.
You're so in it that you don't even.
They were so in it that they started fucking doing horrible shit. And then these other guys, the prisoners, were just like, well, this is my fate now. I mean, that's just.
Well, it's also.
Ridiculous. Motherfuckers was like, well, you don't even have to pay us. We'll just be here.
Sometimes
like,
all
crazy.
it really takes is somebody that you give a fuck saying something that you already know.
Yeah. That's true.
Honestly.
For a lot of things in life, by the way.
Yeah.
I'll say one positive result of this study. By the way, so many people since and during or shortly after were like, you did something very fucked up, and also you fucked up while conducting this experiment.
Right.
There's so many things you did that are unscientific. There's no control.
Yeah.
You led the guards into behaving this way in a lot of instances. Like, just so many things he did not do right. But it has altered the way U.S. prisons are run a tiny bit. For example,
I was about to say, it sounds pretty damn similar to actual
what's going on.
That I didn't know, though, before this. Juveniles accused of federal crimes are no longer housed before trial with adult prisoners because of this experiment. Which, beforehand, they were letting kids hang out with adult fucking prisoners.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's horrible.
Yeah, you want to go to school real quick?
So many bad things happened, I'm sure, that are not talked about in those situations, bro. Yeah. Especially with like sexual offenders that are in prison. And not only that, but like, criminals that are basically giving kids something to believe in that is just crime. You know what I mean?
Right.
Also, I've got a poll going right now of how long you think the guy that murdered George Floyd is going to last in prison.
Oh yeah.
So if he's in Gym Pop, it's over with.
No, if it's
like
in Gym Pop,
one.
it's like 2 or 3 days.
I was thinking
like 13 hours.
I was talking to my boy. I was like, bro, I hope he in the weight room right now. I hope he training. John Wick training,
he
boy.
Can be in the weight room the next 5 years and not be able to survive what's about to happen.
Bro, the OG gonna
be as strong as you want. That shank ain't gonna stop anything.
Nope. Say, all the OG have to do is just tell a young homie on the block, on the cell block, he's over there, lunchtime, in the yard.
I watched one of the biggest OGs in the whole fucking yard.
Well, see, the thing about it is
talking shit. Like
they might just beat his ass every day and just let him live for a minute.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I like
more so further.
The little area,
but they're not going to put him in Gym Pop. They know this.
Little area I had to deal with was Gym Pop, and there was this one guy that was fucking huge.
Gym Pop is general population prison. By the way, it's like just everybody in one big block. Some people don't know that shit.
Yeah. Sorry, they don't. Damn. I know.
Gym Pop sounds like a liquor that has a pop song out of it.
Yeah, and it's not going to be good either. I got
Gym Pop.
Anyway,
to me that sounds like you just drank a whole bunch of gin.
Had to pop
off.
Gin, I'm about to pop.
But there was this guy who was really built, really big guy. And about 3 days in, people started talking, and I wasn't kind of involved in the groups of talking with, what was going on, and then heard from my cellmate, hey, so it's going down tomorrow. And I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, well, we got word that Big Daddy OG down there fucked a 4-year-old.
Wow.
So I woke up. You have your normal, lockout. Mm-hmm. You got to leave your cell and you walk out. And we walked out to... Oh, that motherfucker's on the ground bleeding a lot.
Mm-hmm. It's over with.
Yeah. So any advice Number one, should be a just kind of a humanistic standpoint. Don't fuck with kids.
Don't diddle
No.
kids, please.
It's
Just
bullshit.
stop.
Yeah,
Because it's
terrible.
going to be way worse. You get the repercussions from the judge, then you have to go to jail and deal with that. And that is the least dealt with population in jails.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Is
in most
people
of
who
those,
fuck with
situations,
kids.
they just let it happen. Like the
Yep.
guards already know it's crazy.
No, the guards don't give
They'll
a
just
fuck.
let it rock, and then once it's
Right.
done,
And honestly,
they'll put
if
it
I
up
was
to
a guard,
a brawl happened,
I would
they
do it.
got hurt or died. Not the reason why. Like,
No.
you know, it's
If
real.
I was a guard, I'd watch it. I'd watch it, take pictures, and
Yeah.
laugh. But that's just me.
People are fucked up, man. People are fucked up. But yeah. Oh, was
But
it Chavez?
this goes to show a lot of it
ain't gonna
is
last.
the situation that you put him in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He makes a decision that's bad out of desperation or anger or sadness or a drug issue, or just was simply told the wrong way to live, and then you put him in something like that just further submit that antisocial behavior.
That's why prison reform is a major issue that we need to talk about.
Please,
Because some of this shit, they just put them in a box and put them next to other criminals that don't want to change and are going to instill more bullshit into them rather than like having in-house counselors or fucking job fairs, fucking like career path classes, like rehabilitation of the mind, not debilitation.
Watch
of your shit,
the Nas documentary on Netflix. I watched that yesterday, and it was fucking fantastic. What he talked about on that was his dad was an intelligent guy. His mom was a genius. Put he and his brother through everything that they could have been positively. His dad dipped out on him after a little while, but still kept kind of a positive enforcement. But they went through life coming from Natchez, Mississippi to New York. A huge culture change, like completely, and adapting that culture from what they had come from and grown up with teaching wise from their parents. I don't know. Just check that. I mean, it shows you the perceptual reality of regions, which is insane that it could be divided and so different.
But Mississippi and New York, that's different countries.
Bro. Oh yeah, for sure.
Those are different countries, G. Like, come on, man. Like, he's from Queens, I think, Queensbridge. Think about that compared to Natchez, Mississippi, just in itself. Like, bro, what? Like,
which is kind of sad too, because his dad grew up as a musician in Natchez.
Hella badass jazz
musician. Fucking trumpet player.
That's what instilled in Nas to be in the music.
And the only reason why Nas didn't keep going with trumpet is because his dad told him to stop because it was going to fuck up his lip growth.
Yeah.
Because he told him to stop at the age of 7. He said he was phenomenal, or he said to stop until he was at the age of 7. And when he came back 2 years later at the age of 7, he was like, "And I'm on to something else."
Well, luckily he still used his lungs to create some beautiful fucking music. Because Nas Illmatic is one of the dopest.
Illmatic is
ever fucking created by a man.
One of the pinnacles of rap.
Yeah, for sure. But those are some crazy experiments. The Stanford fucking is ultra fucked up, and there's a documentary about it. If you want to get deep into that hole, you do that. But it's fucked up, super fucked up. And the Nazi fucking thing. And
so I will say the Nazi one, the third wave, they actually did a movie in 2008 called Die Welle, which is DIEWELLE, which is the wave. They did the first interpretation of that in the 60s, and they remade it in 2008 in German. So there's going to be subtitles, but it's about what I just talked about.
Right.
So
that's fucking well. Well, y'all check those things out.
I hope we learned something, guys.
I mean, I learned a lot.
Your memory is often
I think I'm learning
wrong.
something every episode. This
your memory is often wrong. You can be easily manipulated, and you often do things you don't realize that you're doing because you're put in an uncomfortable situation.
Right.
And you are a product of the situation you are placed in.
Yep.
Yes. A lot of the times.
Times.
My mom always said, "Lay with dogs, you're gonna get fleas."
I'll tell you what, I think Ben Franklin said that first, right?
That's true.
Ben Franklin.
Did he?
Franklin did it.
Yeah. Franklin did it. That's what I'm going to say when Mom says that from now on.
I
I have kids and they come over and be like, nope, Franklin did it.
By the way, episode 2 and 3, first season, we covered Ben Franklin. Anyway, thank y'all for tuning in, man. I'm Justin Simmons. I'm saying live life because it's worth living, y'all.
I'm Drew Shelnut. I'm saying stay informed and make a difference. That's it. Stay informed and make a difference. Is the only way to make a difference is to be informed.
Hamlet here. I never liked you. I always loved you. Sometimes.
All right. Well, there's that. Well, thank y'all for tuning in. Next week we'll get into some really, really cool stuff. And the week after that, and for that, it's gonna be a dope season. Y'all stay tuned. Y'all stay tuned. Check us out on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, wherever y'all listen to this joint at. Give us that follow, give us that view, and don't forget Monday 7:30 Facebook, YouTube, all that shit. We go live Monday 7:30 every Monday. Anyway, we love y'all. This has been a podcast called Friends, Facts, and Fiction, and we out. Peace out, folks.